Okay, hi guys, it's Adrian Shepherd here, author of iSucceed and creator of iSucceedbook.com. And today we're in for a real treat as I have on the line with me Mr. Ron Henley. For over 20 years, Ron has been involved in the personal development field, and today is an author, speaker, and coach. Ron, thanks so much for being on the line today.
My pleasure.
Okay. Could you start out by telling us a little bit about who you are and how you got into self-development?
I guess the road started for me back in July 15th of 1978. I was looking for answers, like a lot of people do. Some people find their answers later in life. I was lucky enough, through crazy circumstances, to be introduced to an incredible mentor. My family was actually looking for another house to move into. I had a school friend whose father was a realtor, and we went to his office so my parents could scope through some listings and things. And I was bored, so I walked around the office and found this bookshelf. I've always been an avid reader. And I saw this funny-looking blue case in the way as I was trying to peruse the titles of the books to see if there was something interesting worth reading. I kept knocking this blue case out of the way, and finally it fell off the shelf and popped open. And it was a cassette album by a man named Jim Rohn. I'd never heard that name before, and thought I had busted the case and broken the tapes, and I was eagerly picking them up and examining them for damage. And the titles started to intrigue me. If we do this thing right, we'll make our fortune and take a lot of good people with us. 4 major life lessons. It was 4 back then. It turned out to be 5, but back then it was 4. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And about that time, my parents had finished. So I asked the man, I said, hey, can I borrow these? He said, sure, kid, go ahead. So I took them home and locked myself in my bedroom that whole weekend. This was on a Friday. And if memory serves, it was a Friday. And I locked myself in my room all weekend and heard that voice for the first time. And my life was forever changed. He put ideas in my head that have grown and served me well over the past 3 decades. That's how I got started.
Okay. Wow, it sounds simple. And now, you've been involved, as you said, 3 decades. I thought it was only 2. Wow, I'm sorry about that. But I'm sure that over the course of your life, you've had some ups and downs, and it wasn't always just a straight course to success, as we should say. I'm sure you've had some tough times. Do you mind talking about one of them and how it serves you today when you look back at it now?
Well, the thing is, and I'm glad you mentioned this, Adrian, because a lot of the success coaches out there, even the big names, I know many of them, and I know that their lives aren't perfect. And everybody makes the assumption that just because you're a best-selling author and you've been lecturing on success for 30, 40 years, that your life is just peaches and cream. It's not that way. The only thing that separates people, I believe, is their mental attitude, their philosophy, and their oomph for wanting to deal with problems instead of curling up into a ball and letting them take over. Gosh, I live my life every day just like everybody else. I have ups and downs. I can't think of any one thing that was so bad. I guess my attitude has helped inoculate me. I think attitude is the number one thing that anybody can have in their arsenal. It's going to filter what happens to you and how you process what happens to you. And honestly, I'm sorry to leave you kind of short here, but I just can't think of anything catastrophic that's happened and how I dealt with it. I've actually had a pretty good life, but I do have challenges each and every day, just like all of us do.
Sure. I mean, you're a father, correct?
Yes. I have
that's a challenge.
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old son who started his first year of being a junior in high school this year. Today was his first day.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of him.
Sure. Yeah, my son's only 4, so I've got a while to go.
Yes, you do.
Okay, now you started a company. I'm not sure when exactly. Ron Henley International, correct?
Yes, that company started, I guess, in 1999.
Okay, around the time when the internet was kind of picking up steam, I guess.
Yeah, I had actually, I've held a number of jobs in my lifetime. and was actually working. I started in sales and had worked my way up to doing something fun in my life. Sometimes jobs and careers don't have to be anything but fun. And believe it or not, I'd actually reached a point in my life to where I was a roadie for a rock and roll band that traveled the country. And during the downtime, I didn't want to do anything that would, take up my time and where I wouldn't be available to go on the road when the band took off, because I was having so much fun. And took a job as a pizza delivery driver in the evenings just to have something to do, just to while away the time. And that eventually turned into a career. Before I knew it, even if I wasn't even looking to do it, but I had worked my way up from being a driver. They wanted me to be an assistant manager. I reluctantly took that. Then they made me the store manager. I reluctantly took that because I knew it was going to be taking time away from other things. But to make a long story short, on September the 4th of 1999, I was involved in an accident on that job, and my back was broken. And that'll put a crimp in your plans real fast. So the 8 months while I laid up in the bed, in traction and pumped full of steroids and everything else, I decided to pursue what I'd wanted to do for a long time, and that was just focus solely on teaching others the attitudes, life lessons, and things that I had used to help me live what I thought was a successful life. And I actually started off, Ron Henley International was actually born on the day that I broke my back. I was laying there in the bed, and I decided to do it. So that's where it was born, and I've been working hard at it ever since.
Well, 8 months is a long time to think about what you're going to do. So, great. I mean, the Lord works in mysterious ways. That's what they say, isn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely. He certainly got my attention with that one, I tell you.
Yeah. You said that you felt that you wanted to share ideas that helped you live a successful life. What is your definition of a successful life?
Being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it without having to ask anybody for permission.
That's a good one. Okay. What do you feel then is the number one secret to success that the average person doesn't know? A lot of people out there are struggling, and what would you say to the average person out there if you were going to help them get started on the road to recovery?
The first thing that anybody has to understand is that nothing is impossible, and this too, good or bad, will pass.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. What you focus on determines your reality. If you focus on how bad things are, then your reality is just going to get worse. If you focus on, okay, this has happened, what does it mean? What do I choose for it to mean? And how can I move forward? It's all in the attitude. It's how you perceive the information, good or bad. Is this the end of the world, or is it a stepping stone that I can learn from to adjust my sail, to adjust my direction, to adjust my life in a way to where this will never happen to me again? I can move forward from this.
That's excellent advice. Excellent. I love it. Okay, now I'm a big believer in the power of words, as I'm sure you are as well. And I know that you've taken the time to listen to all the greats in the self-development industry because I've seen your library. I'm curious, do you have a favorite quote?
Favorite quote? My gosh. Boy. That's like asking when's the last time I sneezed. A favorite quote? I guess my favorite, the one that pops into my head because I love it so much, is the quote from the tape that I learned that day back in 1978 from Jim Rohn, which is, if we do this thing right, we'll make our fortune and take a lot of good people with us. I think that was an incredible quote that he got from somebody that he worked with back in the day, and it just, that whole sentence, you could almost do a dissection of every word in that sentence and do a seminar on it. I mean, it's incredible. But if you think about it, you want to bring good into the world. I think that's why we're here. We're here to leave this place better than we were when we found it.
Sure.
That's what I think. So each and every day, if you're doing the right thing, if you're taking the steps to make your life and the lives of everybody you come into contact with better, and you can find a way to get paid doing it, well, that sounds like a little slice of heaven to me.
Most definitely, most definitely. Now, as I said just a few seconds ago, I know you've got a huge library. Do you have a few books that stick out in your mind? Let's talk about self-development first, like 2 or 3 books that in your mind are must-reads.
Yes, I have several. I got bookshelves and bookshelves full of books, but there's one bookshelf that I keep right behind my desk at all times. And one of the ones that I would recommend for anybody is called The University of Success by Og Mandino. I've read that book I don't know how many times, but every time I read it, it's a new book, because we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. So between readings, I have grown, I have changed. So every time I read it, it's like reading a new book. So I ask people all the time, do you have a library? They say, well, yes, I do. I say, well, how many books do you have in your library? Oh, I don't know, 100, 150 books or so. I said, that's great. How would you like 100 or 150 brand new books to go in your library? They said, well, yeah, how do you do that? I said, read them all again, because you change.
That's excellent.
We constantly change and grow. And the things that are important to us now won't be as important in the future. And things that aren't important to us now will be important in the future.
Sure.
So, but let's see, The University of Success by Og Mandino, of course, Leading an Inspired Life by Jim Rohn. I love that book. And Conversations with Millionaires by Michael Oman. Mike's a good friend of mine, and I was around when he first started selling the transcripts for that book on eBay. I think, if you ask him, I think I was the first person to buy from him on eBay. Wow.
Okay, I'll try and track that down.
Yeah, I did. We were talking about that. It's been a few years since we've spoken, but I think that's what we figured out. He was on eBay selling the transcripts, and I think I was the first person to buy it from him. Yeah.
Wow, awesome.
What a story that turned out to be.
I've actually got all those 3 books, and I agree they're all excellent. I think the University of Success is for some people, it's maybe a tough book to start with just because it's a little long. That's why I like Leading.
It's a lot of different stories. That's the beauty of it.
That's true.
It's a lot of different short stories.
Sure.
Some of them are 10 to 12 pages long. Some of them are only 2 pages long. But it's by different authors from the past 70 years, 70, 80 years. You'll find stuff in there from the 20s all the way up to the 80s when it was published. So it gives you an all-around encompassing view, all different angles to look at things, ideas to perceive, and it's an incredible book. Don't get overwhelmed. Just read a little bit a day. 10 pages a day is all you need.
I mean, 10 pages a day, you finish every book, right? I mean, as many books as you want to finish, that is. Okay. What about books that are not in the self-development field? Any other books that you think any serious students should invest in?
Well, any book that has to do with whatever path in life you want to pursue. With me, I've always been fascinated with sales. So I'm constantly looking for the older, rarer sales books. I've got some really rare books in my library that I've been able to find. And Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, gosh, all these guys that are really great on selling. I've got some older ones. There's a book that I really, really love. Zig Ziglar had an older brother named Judge Ziglar. And he wrote a book called Timid Salespeople Have Skinny Kids.
Yes. And, I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is an incredible book. He was so down to earth, and when we lost him, we really lost a great. And Zig's still hanging in there. He's in his 80s. He's hanging in there tough.
Yep.
But, any book that whatever you decide to do with your life, pay attention to what other people in the same field are doing and writing about. Learn all you can from them. And luckily, they don't have to be there. You can go to the public library. You can go to eBay, Amazon. My gosh. E-books, you really don't have any kind of excuse not to absorb the information that's out there today. So that's hard to pick for you, but I've got so many. But just whatever it is you decide to do with your life, take it seriously. Be serious about it. Learn everything you can about it and be the best.
Okay. That's good advice. What about any audio programs, DVD sets that you think are just, phenomenal?
Oh, wow. Gosh, I've got a bunch of programs by a man named Dale Calvert that is just incredible. He is one of the most real people that I've ever met. And luckily, he used to live in Kentucky. We're both from Kentucky, but as luck would have it, he ended up moving about 10 miles from me. So
wow, that's awesome.
Dale's an awesome guy, and of course I've got I think tons of stuff by Jim Rohn. A lot of it, a lot of people have never heard. It's stuff that hasn't been released to the public, but because of my relationships with the people and with Jim Rohn International and with mutual friends, and I've been able to luckily get a bunch of his older stuff, and I'm trying to work out a deal, hopefully, to where maybe some of this stuff can be released, because now that Jim is gone, nothing new will be coming from that great mind.
Yeah.
So all we have is what he has already left us, and
which is phenomenal.
Yes, incredible.
Which is phenomenal.
As Jim always used to say, everything that you need to be successful has already been written.
No kidding.
And we just have to do what we can to get it out there. But I have so many DVDs and CDs and old cassettes. I've even got a few old reel-to-reel tapes and records.
Wow.
I'm serious about collecting this stuff and listening to it and absorbing the message, and I get it in any media format I can find. So, just like, again, anything that has to do with what you're wanting to do, get everything you can on it and absorb it.
Okay. Now, being a father myself, I know that, I look at my kid and I think that he's going to be the leader of tomorrow. And I'm sure that you feel the same way about your son.
Yes.
So I'm kind of curious, what advice do you have for parents out there? I mean, parenting is one of the toughest jobs there is. And it's, not seen as anything joyous. It's just considered a duty, but it's a great honor to be a parent. And it's not easy in today's world with social media and the pressure to succeed and achieve and all that. What advice do you have for parents?
Just be aware that your children are watching you all the time. You cannot say one thing and do another, because the scrutiny will not pass you by. That is being a father, that has been one of my great lessons, the best way to put this is, if you really take to heart what being a parent is all about, it will help you be a more truer you, and it will help you walk your talk better than any other single influence I can think of. If you really believe something, if you really believe in a way of life, if you really believe in a philosophy, if you really believe certain things, this is your chance to live them and to demonstrate them, because you cannot be happy on purpose. Happiness comes as a byproduct of living your life in tune with your goals and your values. If you're unhappy in your life, it's because something in your goals and values has gone askew. So if you're happy, your kids are going to be happy, your wife's going to be happy, your husband's going to be happy, everybody's going to be happy, and you have to pay attention each and every day as a parent to what you are sowing into that fertile mind of your child. So many, as Earl Schultz said in his recording, so many parents out there are trying to teach kids what to think instead of teaching them how to think. And one of my great joys is taking an opportunity every day to find something to ask my son about, to find out where he is, to find out how I can assist him in getting to where he wants to go. I'm not trying to beat my beliefs into him. I'm trying to encourage him to be his own person. And the best way I can do that is to be the best me. As Bob Cummings used to say back in the old movie star back in the day, Jim Rohn used to quote it all the time, I will take care of me for you if you will take care of you for me.
Sure.
And those are words to live by.
Yep. Well said. Well said. What about, the world has changed since where you went to school, and it's changed since I went to school. What skills do you feel that kids today need to get ahead?
Well, first and foremost, they need computer skills.
Okay.
Back when I went to school, personal computers were just hitting the market. Microsoft was founded in '77. I was 14 years old when that happened. My first computer was a Radio Shack microcomputer. I think it was a TS-180 or something like that. Gave over $1,000 for it when I was 15, 16 years old. That was a lot of money back in those days. But I saw the future, and I've been a computer nut ever since. And luckily for me, my son loves computers as well. He's into video games. He's wanting to be a biologist and tinker with building computer and video games on the side. I think that's a pretty interesting career.
Great. Okay. Any other skills?
Working on yourself, realizing where your shortcomings are so you can try to better yourself, and do whatever you have to do to try and get along with other people. Because my son comes to me, as all children do. I'm sure your son's 4, so I'm sure that even at 4 years old, they have problems with other children. And he will come to me and ask me why this is happening and why this is happening and why are they treating me this way. And I'm quick to point out, be kind to everyone because you never know what kind of private war they are raging. You just don't know what's going on in people's lives. So always be kind. Kindness is the way. If somebody's mean to you, just realize it's probably not personal. They have something going on in their life that they don't know how to deal with, so they just lash out. So learn to be a student of human behavior, be a student of your own behavior, and do what's necessary to be a negotiator, a soother, a source of comfort, not a source of irritation. That's probably one of the best life skills to have, in my opinion.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, well, I've had you on the line for about 20 minutes here, so
really?
I guess we should wrap.
It seems like about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's great. But do you have any final words, any words of wisdom or advice you'd like to pass along?
I guess the best thing I can advise people to is Jerry Haynes, who is a friend of mine who promoted German's private seminars for over 30 years. He ends his phone calls with this message, and I can't think of a better way to end this interview than by saying this, and that is, remember that you have a very precious life, so do make it a great day.
Great. That's simple. I like it. Okay, Ron, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today. How could people contact you if they want to get a hold of you, like a website or some contact information?
I have a blog at ronhenley.com, ronhenley.com, and you can write me via email at ronhenley@gmail.com.
Great. That's fabulous. So, okay, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much, and I hope my readers and listeners take something away from this call that they haven't heard before.
Great. My pleasure, Adrian. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.